Jason Falls,
Yep.
social media extraordinaire, right?
That would be me.
I
Yeah,
think that's the
something like
official
that.
title.
Social media. Somebody called me a social media chief exploration officer of my company. I thought, oh, that's interesting. Okay.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect for the resume.
Why not?
Benevolent dictator of social
Ooh,
media, I think is
like
the next
that.
one. Yeah.
That's cool.
So I'm here at IMS with Jason Falls, and just wanted to talk to you a bit back and forth about the social media tips that we've been gathering as part of our listening campaign and what that means for the PR industry. So one of the things that we've seen is a lot of tips on how to pitch bloggers, and as a fairly well-renowned blogger, I'm sure that you get lots of pitches.
I do.
You showed me a pretty terrible one yesterday.
Oh yeah, the Adult Swingers Network apparently has an iPhone app. Thanks.
So you mentioned that you have very specific steps that you want every pitcher to
Right.
use. And what are those steps? Why do you have them in place?
Reciting them, also, I think I have 6 rules on
Okay.
socialmediaexplorer.com, and there's a little tab up the top that says how to pitch SME. And I would recommend that approach for any blogger out there who's watching this who might be, how to pitch me. And what I say is that the rules for me are a little different. They're kind of catered to my needs. Number one, it's got to be on topic. It's got to be about social media, public relations, marketing, communications. I don't write about gadgets, so you can send me your press release on your new iPhone app or your new digital camera. I don't care. That's not my audience. And so it's got to be on topic. I like my pitches to be brief. I don't have time to read through a ton of paragraphs in an email. I think one of them is do not offer me an interview with your CEO, because in general, CEOs are really boring people and I don't want to talk to them. And if I feel like I need to or want to talk to them, I'll ask. But I get a lot of, can I put you in touch with our CEO to talk about X? No, not really. I don't want to talk to them.
Yeah.
I also don't like it when people copy and paste press releases in an email to me. Give me a short snippet. That goes back to the keep it short. Give me a short snippet. Tell me in 2 or 3 sentences exactly what it is you're trying to get across to me. And if I want more information, I'll ask for it. That's when you know I'm interested. And that's when you can follow up with more information. So those are my rules, but those are just specific for me. And I think what that sort of, to kind of turn that around for PR people, is what that means for PR people is you really need to understand the individual blogger, the individual media member even, and how they like to be pitched and what makes up a good pitch for them. Now, that makes PR people's job very challenging because it doesn't scale well. You have to have those individual relationships and make notes about each individual person and how they like to be pitched. You can't blast anymore. But at the same time, if you think about what public relations really is, which is building relationships with these media members, these bloggers, whatnot, you don't want to blast because blasting is very impersonal. It's very blanket. You got to go for quality over quantity. And if you do the quality over quantity, you're going to know exactly how to pitch each individual person on your list.
Yeah. One of the tips that we got, and I'd love your feedback on this, is instead of adding a press release for a blogger, add a sample blog post, including title and tags and that format. Do you think that that's a little presumptuous, that they would copy and paste a blog post into their own blog, or do you think it's a good starting point?
I think it is a little presumptuous because you have to remember blogging, and this is my opinion, not necessarily backed up by statistical fact or anything, but blogging is inherently a very ego-driven activity. People like to see their stuff, in print, and you have to have a little bit of self-promotion behind you and attitude and a little bit of ego behind you to be a blogger in general, I think. Now, there's obviously going to be some exceptions, people who blog for their companies or people who blog for, as journalists and things like that. That might be a little different. But because blogging is primarily an ego-driven thing, I think it is being a little presumptuous to say, here's a sample blog post, here's what it might look like. I think what I would recommend as opposed to that, or maybe as a first step in that relationship, is, again, give me 2 or 3 sentences on what it is you feel like is newsworthy and noteworthy to my audience that I should be writing about. And if that is something that makes me go, okay, send me more information, then maybe you say, we would love it if you blogged about X, and here's 3 or 4 things we would like to point out. I always get a little turned off when people say, we would love it if you would blog about this. But at the same time, I understand that as a PR person. That's my background anyway. So I think I think it is presumptuous. I think I would start small and really nail your pitch down to a real short, pithy, this is what this news means to your audience, and then go from there.
Yeah. And do you ever value pitches that quote your own blog back to you? Do you think that's a good sign? I've seen a few pitches that
well, it actually is a good sign because it shows me that the PR person's paying attention. It shows me that they are doing a little bit of research on me. They've probably read my How to Pitch SME thing on my blog, and so it's a little flattering. And again, that goes back to the whole ego thing. You're stroking my ego a little bit by saying, hey, I read this on your blog and this was fantastic. And, don't blow smoke up my butt, but at the same time, it would catch my attention and make me think they're doing their homework.
And actually yesterday, last night at the Tweet Up, we talked back and forth about how to approach a blogger or a tweeter when you meet them in real life, which I think is rare for people.
Yeah, it is.
And they don't really know how to act. So any tips for the...
Well, I would, for PR people out there, I would not walk up to someone or be introduced to someone and say, oh, I read your blog, or, oh, I follow you on Twitter, because it's very easy for them to call BS on you when you don't, or they don't have a blog, and you just got introduced to them and you don't really know who they are. Again, it's just knowing who these people are. I get a lot of people who will come up to me because they know my avatar, they know I write at socialmediaexplorer.com, and they'll say, hey, Jason, I read your blog, and that's very flattering, and I like that. But if they were to come up to me and say something along the lines of, hey, I follow you on Twitter, it's easy for me to flip my phone open and go, do they? And so there's always going to be a little bit of skepticism on the blogger side of things when you do that. So be flattering and be, congenial, but don't overstep your bounds and know who you're talking to.
Well, and I think it's hard. I think that a lot of people have been identifying each other by their avatars at this conference.
That's how people know who I am when I go to conferences.
That's fantastic.
Because I look like my avatar.
And do you think that's an important part of the personal brand?
Yeah, absolutely. I've actually told a really good friend of mine. We were at Blog World Expo in 2007, and we were walking down the hall, and this was before Social Media Explorer had much of an audience. Not very many people knew who I was.
Yeah.
So we're walking down the hall, and like 5 people within 2 minutes go, hey, Jason Falls, you're Jason Falls. Hey, it's great to see you, Jason Falls. Hey. I didn't know who any of these people were. And he turns to me and says, dude, how does everybody know you? Because we were at the time, our blogs were about even par. We had about the same kind of traffic. And I said, it's my avatar, because I look like my avatar. His avatar was his initials. So it was a graphic image and not his face. And he changed it that day, and it's been the same avatar of his face ever since. And I think it has a big impact. I mean, I've even gone so far, because my avatar is me in a black shirt, I've even gone so far as to, when I'm speaking at a conference, wearing the black shirt.
Really?
So that people know that's the guy. There's no question.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And it's a great icebreaker, because people go, oh, you look like your avatar. I'm like, yeah, I do. Hey, thank you.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate
problem.
it, Jason Falls.
Thank you.
Have a good rest of conference.
You too.